Devlin, Untamed. The platform.
Welcome to the podcast, people. Martin Devlin, Lachlan War, iOS. It's Only Sport. That's the name of our show every single day on the platform, 1 till 4. If you can't join us live, this is the next best thing, the only true independent daily radio sports program in the country. Today, all the day's news, views, and major sporting issues discussed. We had Greg Martin on the program as we do every Thursday. We spoke with the Auckland FC coach, Steve Corica, as the first marquee player signed by the club, only a couple of months away from another A-League season. We talked about the Dream Team, the USA men's basketball team, arguably the star attraction at these Olympic Games. Why? Well, it's the world's biggest superstars on the world's biggest stage. Can they? Will they win it again? But a different kind of podcast for you today, because it's not very often we get a guest like this guy on, and he was so generous with his time. And the king, Wally Lewis. I mean, as soon as you say that name, you're a league fan, you know exactly who he is. He defines the word legend. And we spoke to him for the best part of 20 minutes. You don't normally get to hear an interview with this guy that long. So we thought, hey, something different for the podcast. We're going to play the whole lot back to you in a couple of parts. Begin the show and the podcast the same way every single day, though, which is tablets in hand. I say, gather my flock. It is time for a sermon. What about the rest of the Warriors season then? Let's go to the mountaintop.
We live in an amazing, amazing world, and it's wasted on the crappiest generation of just spoiled idiots.
The Warriors season is officially over, but that doesn't mean it has ended. Let me explain. At 7-1-10, the reality of making the finals is virtually non-existent. I say virtually because if you believe Jesus did in fact turn water into wine, then yes, miracles can happen. But this is the NRL, and if you're relying on an act of God or whoever, then let's end this conversation right now. The season might be over in terms of making the finals, but there is still a hell of a lot left to play for, and that for me is equally, if not right now, even more important than ever. The bare facts are that the best the Warriors can finish is 13-1-10, and that's only if we win all 6 remaining games. Virtually, if not actually, impossible. But the club has to set that target and has to play like it is still achievable, because finishing with that record, or say a 12-1-11, that's over the 500, would be honourable. And that's what they're playing for. What the players can't do is let the rest of this season degenerate into what happened in 2022. Every remaining game is important in that it indicates just where the club really is at, where the players are at, and exactly what influence Andrew Webster has on the squad. In fact, we can't have a repeat of losing by 40 or 50 points, refusing to run back, can't be asked making tackles, and as the then interim coach at the end of the 2022 season, Stacey Jones, said, not playing with any pride in the jersey. How much the club has progressed or not will be defined in the next 6 weeks. Forget the finals. That's not happening. But what is a litmus test on whether the club has moved on from those dark days, whether the club is a contender or whether it is still a pretender. All that will be very evident in the results from here till the end of the season. If you ever wanted a why as to the remaining games are so important, therein lies your reason.
Devlin.
What do you want? We want information. Information. You won't get it.
The platform.
Lachlan, sports news headlines are what?
A few Olympic results to get out of the way for our Kiwis in Paris. The Ollie Whites, the men's football team, bounced back strong from a pair of setbacks to begin their Paris Olympics campaign with a 2-1 win over Guinea. A couple of good goals as well. The All Black Sevens are already through to the Olympic quarterfinals after winning both their pool games in Paris early today, New Zealand time. Thumping Japan 40-12. That was their first game before beating South Africa 17-5, knocking out their rivals. I find the story amusing. And we've got some Andrew Pragnell quotes to attach to it. New Zealand football have complained to FIFA demanding urgent action after learning Canada flew a drone to spy on New Zealand, their national women's team that is, on 2 separate occasions at the Olympics. Here's a couple of quotes from New Zealand Football Chief Executive Andrew Pragnell. There is no place for this type of action in football, and it is critical that urgent action is undertaken to address this integrity breach. To hear now that the Canadian team had filmed secret footage of our team training at least twice is incredibly concerning, and if not treated urgently, could have wider implications for the integrity of the tournament. I don't really like Andrew Bracknell that much, so I don't really know if I really care too much about what he has to say.
Well, if this didn't happen, would
Was anyone talking about us?
Well, I was just going to say, I mean, we're irrelevant in this particular tournament, and not only that, so's he being at the Olympics, apart from the fact that he's going to sachet, soiree, and all of that. So at least it actually gives him something to do for a few days.
Just quickly, can I say, it's not really a dig at stuff, but it's a pointless article. There's an article on their page that says how New Zealand have performed on day one of the Olympics. I'm like, okay, did we have more than the Ollie Whites and the All Black Sevens? Well, the men's sevens. No, that's it. So it's the shortest article I've ever seen. It's literally just 3 lines listing those 3 results.
Look, we're just at this stage at the moment where, look, there's not a lot around, is there? And the Olympics have started, and look, can you write an article about day one? Yes, I did. Well, that's only a sentence. I know. Can you flesh it out? Well, there's not a lot else.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Oh, thank God for the football ferns. Oh, lucky that a drone went up.
Sticking with the football ferns, Captain Ellie Riley ruled out of the Paris Olympics. What has been described as an excruciatingly painful nerve injury that she has been struggling with for a long time. Interim coach Michael Main making the decision to replace her in his squad on the eve of the Ferns' opening match against Canada. Michaela Foster is the replacement, Ian Foster's daughter. How wonderful. Russian chef is among those arrested in plots targeting the Paris Olympics. French authorities have foiled several plots to disrupt the 2024 Olympics, including arresting a Russian man in one of them, officials say, just days before the opening ceremony of the Summer Games. Here we go. Top-ranked tennis player Jannik Sinner is out of the Olympics. He has tonsillitis. The Italian, he won the Australian Open earlier this year, pulling out of the Olympics. Tonsillitis is not a nice thing to have. I had strep throat a couple of years ago. Tell you what, it knocks you about. And Auckland FC have made a splash with their first visa signing, landing a Japanese international with a pretty damn good resume. This international being, let me get the article, his name, I want to pronounce this right, Hiroki Sakai, 34 years of age. He's a defender, plays predominantly right back as far as I know. He played in the Europa League final in 2018. He's played for Marseille and Hanover. Now, if you know your football, those are 2 pretty good clubs to have played for. He's also played at 3 FIFA World Cups, over 70 appearances for Japan under his belt as well.
Devlin.
Oh my goodness me!
The platform.
Wally Lewis, legend. His name synonymous with rugby league. I don't care who it is writing whatever list. If you are compiling the greatest players to have ever played that game, or he is right at the top, he's tip of your tongue. Everyone knows Wally Lewis, the king. And he joined us today. We spoke for about 20 minutes. This coming to you in 2 separate parts. Wally, thank you so much for joining us, mate. Overall, how's the health going? I need to ask you that first.
Yeah, okay. I'm getting older at a very quick rate, and picking up the flu, sharing that around with my mates. But other than that, it's okay. I do have some issues with memory, but there just seems to be so many of the guys in a similar position at the moment, and we're getting the best possible advice that we can and seeing the best doctors.
It's heartbreaking to hear, mate, because, you know, we loved the rough and tumble and almost the unrestricted nature of the game back then. But this is now being reflected in the fact that so many of you very brave men, have been hit across the mush so many times while you're playing.
Yeah, and I think the great thing, Martin, is that most of the vast majority of the guys sort of get in contact with each other. They're not looking for sympathy. All they're looking for is the best possible advice that they can get from the medical staff, and deal with it in the best way possible. And when we talk about issues of memory loss, that's the sad thing for many of the guys, is that they have fears about losing recollection of some of the great times that they had playing footy, but quite ironically, it's the short-term memory that seems to be the issue for most of the guys. I know with mine, I get told something and my partner Linda, I'll be talking to her, and I'll see a little bit of an unusual look on her face, and I usually say to her, "Have I already said that?" And she'll hold up four or five fingers and say, "Yeah, you've told me several times," and you get the embarrassment of it, but. Anyway, you learn to deal with it and just get on with life and enjoy what we've got. We've had an absolute ball, the time we've had on this earth, and we just want to be able to enjoy what's left.
Please, can I say, there's no embarrassment at all, man. People just absolutely love you, and I remember, clearly the time on TV, where you had that moment and talking to you about that and reading about that, and it was such a shock, such a horror at the time, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. That time on TV, if it's the same one, and apologies if it's not the same one we're talking about, where I had a seizure from epilepsy. Yeah. And that was back in about 2006 or 2007, I think that was. It was embarrassing, but in the funny sort of a way, it turned out to be the best possible thing that got me to go and see, to stop being such an ignorant cow, and seek the best possible advice. And I headed to Melbourne to get the advice, and probably panicked when I was told that I'd have a part of my brain removed in the left temporal lobe, and it was about 5 centimetres by 2 centimetres by 2.5 centimetres. And my question to the doctor was, "Am I going to be the full quid?" And yes. He actually laughed at me a little bit, and I said, "We'll see. You're laughing at me now." And he said, "No." He said, "That's the most common question I get asked. There are fears for your long-term health and well-being." He said, "We'll deal with it from here." And thankfully, since that surgery, I haven't had a single epileptic fit, a single seizure. And it's gone on. The only thing I deal with now is a little bit of memory loss, and I probably question whether it's had something to do with my time dealing with epilepsy.
I want to talk about Origin, and obviously, I'm a New South Wales fan, and I'm just delighted at what I saw at Lang Park. But one of the great things was when you actually went over to the Wally Lewis, and I saw all these guys, all these clowns sitting there with this wig on, this bald wig, and I was wondering who the hell is that? And then, oh my God, it's Wally Lewis. It was a hell of a tribute, wasn't
it? Yeah, in one way. I probably would have felt better had they had a little bit more hair attached to those bald wings. Yeah. In my playing days, I had some hair, but it was quite comical. I got the chance to go and see them. A lot of them made the trip from a long way away to be involved in that game and take part in it and put those masks on with the bald head and the moustache. And the wonderful thing was that they raised a whole lot of money on that occasion. It was quite extraordinary. They got $12,000 instantly on that night, which was given to Epilepsy Queensland for the time that they were in those masks. And you just got to say a very big thank you to those guys who went a long way to dress up and in those bald wings and jerseys and stand around in the fairly cold. There was 368 of the guys.
Yeah, that's just great.
Dressed
that's
up in the Wally's costumes.
That's great. It just says what you mean to people. You're the king. Wally, is there anything at all in your playing career that you wished you had done? Because you've won everything, achieved everything. Is there even one thing that you thought I would have liked to have done that as well?
Probably been able to achieve premiership in the it's now known as the NRL competition. When the Broncos were first introduced into the big time in 1988, we were sort of on the edge of the finals. Just quite didn't make. Well, we made it in my third year in 1990, but we were knocked out. And it was. I think I went away from that occasion with loser's limp. I wasn't happy with that, and I left the Broncos, headed down to the Gold Coast, and a couple of years later, I had the thrill of going back to watch the Broncos after I'd retired. When the Broncos won their first premiership under the guidance of Allan Langer, who had a wonderful series that time around. So it would have been nice to win a premiership, but I've been fairly successful in some of the other things that I've had, and the thrill of playing Test match football and coming up against some of the Kiwi greats, and if I've got to say a massive thank you to one man, and I always care for him, it's Graham Lowe, the former New Zealand Rugby League coach, who is one of the nicest blokes you'll ever get to meet in your time on the planet. He's a wonderful man, and has had some issues himself health-wise, and he's remained a lifelong friend for a long, long time.
Wally Lewis is with us. Wally, what was it about you? What was it about your self-belief and your will to win that you expected to win every game, that you thought you could win every game? It didn't matter what the odds were. It didn't matter what it was. You always went out there knowing and thinking that you could change the game and actually win that game. Was that something that was always in you, or did you develop that over time?
Oh, I think you learn as you go, but I had the wonderful opportunity of being taught by my dad. My dad played first grade footy in Brisbane for a couple of clubs, and he then went on to coach first grade at Winner Manly, the club that I later went to. And every time that he used to come home in football season, I'm sure he regards me as the biggest pest in the family. He'd come home and it'd be on dark just as he'd arrived home, and I used to get him to teach me all the new skills to the game. One time it was tackling with the left shoulder. Other times it was being involved in being able to pass, and he always used to work on the weak sides, getting me to pass from left to right rather than everybody that's a normal right-hander. We love to be able to throw a pass as long as we possibly can with the right hand to the left-hand side, but he always used to work on the other way, on the weaker sides, and he said to me that you've got to perfect the weaknesses in your game rather than further strength, the good points. And he was a wonderful guy, gave me great support, as did my mum, but I still remember the first time I got to play for Australia against France. It was at the Sydney Cricket Ground in 1981. And I was standing out in front of the grandstands, and they started to play the national anthems. And I looked up into the stands. I was the only Queenslander in the side, and I could see my father, and he appeared to be wiping the hand away from his eyes. And I asked him later on. He said, "Oh no, it was just the dust. Just the dust flying around."
That's what it was. Yeah.
And my mum rolled her eyes, and she said he was bawling his eyes out. That was the proudest day of his life.
Yeah.
I got to thank them. They were wonderful people.
Hold the line, Wally. We'll just go to a little break, mate. To pay some bills, take care of some business, and come back. I've got a whole lot more questions for you. Just on that, ladies and gentlemen. How cool is that? How cool is that? And also, the lesson involved in your dad teaches you how to pass left-handed. Now, these days we've just got so many psychoanalysts and therapists and experts in ADHD and kids' behaviour, and put them on these kind of drugs and put them on those kind of drugs, and they're too loud and they're too boisterous and they're climbing trees and they're boys and they're doing all of that kind of stuff, and they're just they're boys. You know what the best thing you can do as a dad? Get a ball and go down the park. Get a ball and go down the park. It is that simple. I would never, ever assume in any way at all that I could ever give advice about parenting to anyone. Because as a parent, you always question yourself, and you question yourself constantly, don't you, about was I a good parent? Did I lose my cool? Did I yell at them? I never smacked them or anything like that, but yeah, I yelled at them a few times, and and you always regret that afterwards. You feel so stink about it, don't you? But yeah, just in terms of spending time, really good time, and at the same time, if you're down the park kicking a ball around, they grow as little people too, because they get so much confidence. I remember with my boys, taking a football down the park, and the first couple of times they hated it. They couldn't kick the ball and everything, but every day we went down there, they got a bit better at it, and they, legs got a bit stronger. And I remember reading a Bobby Charlton book years ago, and he was a Manchester United England legend. And he said that everyone thought he was a left-footed player, but he wasn't. He was right. He was right-footed. But what he used to do when he was an apprentice at Man United, sorry, long-winded story here, but he used to go behind the Stretford end, which had a brick wall, and he just used to kick left foot for hours and hours and hours until he got so strong with that peg that everyone thought that he was left-footed. And you watch the highlights of him, bang, he bangs them in from 35 yards. Well, I took inspiration from that. And so as the kids got older and, we'd go and practice all day Saturday and Sunday, we'd go down the park and practice. And I spent weeks at a time where they could only kick with their left foot. And they hated it to start with because, they just for standing on, and they were so much better with their right. And in the end, they got picked for all the rep sides and everything else because the first two coaches thought that they're both left-footed players and they could kick with both feet. Now, again, none of this costs you anything. And the time that we spent, at their 21st, they stand up and they say, Dad, we love you for the fact you took us to football all the time. We always practiced football. We used to hang out playing football. It doesn't matter what sport it is. It costs nothing and it achieves absolutely everything. Fresh air, physicality, you wear them out, and then you get to go and have some fish and chips or McDonald's or an ice cream afterwards, and you spend that time in the car talking. That is the only lesson I ever have for you from this side of the microphone of being a parent. Part 2 then of the chat with Wally Lewis. So generous with his time. I loved him as a player. I hated him as a player because he was the captain of Australia and he was a captain of Queensland. But you could only admire just his will to win, his absolute genius on the field, his ability to single-handedly turn situations in games that you just think, no, there's no way that they can't come back from this. And then he would do something that only Wally Lewis, the king, could. Part 2 of the interview. I love the fact you talk about with such fondness International League, and as an old dude myself, I just hope that that the game doesn't forget about this. As much as I love Origin, to me the pinnacle that's got to be preserved, and especially the Titanic clashes you had with those Kiwi blokes over the years. I mean, those 3 Test series were amongst some of the greatest league I've ever seen. It's got to have a big future in this game, doesn't it?
Yeah, surely international footy has got to be retained. It's got to be the highest honour that you can dream about, the highest honour you want, and you get the opportunity to take part in. Honestly, that first time that I played for Australia was fantastic, and I know it's exactly the same for the New Zealand guys that regard it as the most fantastic moment of their life. And I've been very close over the years to Graham Lowe, and he's a guy that you'd probably put down as one of the final contestants in the world's nicest bloke.
I know. Yeah, he is.
Just an absolute fantastic guy, and he achieved plenty of things whilst he was here in Brisbane football, a premiership with the Norths Club, when not too many people knew Graham Lowe. They didn't know much about him, and he achieved success and did really well. And then he coached the New Zealand side, and I still remember when they beat us in a test match. I think it was at Carlaw Park, the old Carlaw Park, and I went in to congratulate him after the game, and I think his big question was, "How are you?" I saw you got a bump to the knee early in the game. How's the knee? I said, "Lowy, celebrate your win, mate. Don't be concerned about the opposition's weaknesses or injuries." And that's the bloke he was. He was one of the world's nicest guys, and still is. I've had the thrill of speaking to him recently, and he did some wonderful things for rugby league in New Zealand, and I think he did even better things for making people who played football even nicer people away from the game.
18-0 it was, and that was the third test after you won the first couple, and that second one, 6-4, remember, right at the very end, scored that try. I just happened to stumble across the other day, and I don't know how I did, it was on YouTube. It was a documentary about the 87, I think it was, Origin series, and it was Alfie Langer's debut, and I was fascinated with it and your contribution to that, because even Wayne Bennett didn't want him in that side, but after that first Origin, you knew that he was the guy then. This little wee kid who was just full of life and beans. But it was your perceptiveness that actually recognised that. What did you see in him?
I played against him the week before we actually had the selection meeting at Ipswich, and he really did struggle in that game. I was playing for Winner Manly, who were the sort of the competition leaders at that stage, and Alf he really did have a go, but he didn't receive a lot of great support throughout the course of that game. But every time that I used to read about the other teams just to try and get some ideas on who were the best players, what they did, what their strengths were, what their weaknesses were, and every time there was a story in there about his club side, Allan Langer was the star player, and it was all about whether he could make it in state of origin footy. There was the question again thrown up about his size. I went into the meeting with Wayne Bennett, and the selectors just sort of said, we don't need you to give us too much guidance. We think we've got the side as it is, and they picked Alf on the side, and I think Bennett said to me, "What do you think about him?" And I said, "Well, we played against him last week, and he didn't get a lot of help from his teammates." I said, he was one of those players that was trying the whole time, but he didn't get a lot of support. And then he played for Queensland next match, and the rest is history. We nickname him the Garden Gnome.
Brilliant.
Not the biggest guy on the field, but has got the biggest heart. There's no doubt about that, and was able to go on and chalk up some magnificent performances at State of Origin, Test match level, and also went over to England to play for Warrington, I think he was playing for. And you talk about Allan Langer at Warrington, and they talk about him being the great Australian hero.
Well, a couple more questions. We'll let you go, and I thank you so much for your time, mate. You're so generous with it. I'm great mates with MG, and he says that Stoush with you in '91 launched his broadcasting career and everything else. Do you look back? Have you ever watched the footage of it now? Because I've never seen you so angry. You were toe-to-toe with that guy.
Yeah, well, he got away with...
he did. He got away with a lot. Elbows, flying elbows, mate, yeah.
It was close to murder on the date that he got away with, and... I think they went up to try and put a little bit more pressure on the referee to make the decision. But it's what happened after the game, I think, that sort of brought Mark and myself a little bit closer. He got pulled into that team and just got told to go out there and get rid of as many players as possible, just take them out. And he did that. He came up with the one play that's still at the top of the State of Origin highlights tape, where he ran in and came up with an elbow to the face, and we still say in the Queensland side if he had done it in the club match, he would have got 10 or 12 weeks. But the thing that got me was that he got dropped from the New South Wales side pretty much straight away. They didn't want to know him. He did the job that they told him to do when he went out there, and I rang him up and just it took a little while to get in contact. And I said, Mark, the one point that I want to bring out is that I still am a bit shitty that you did it. I said, but you got told to do it. You got told that was your job when you go out there. I think he was 19 at the
something
time.
Like that, yeah.
So he was just undereducated in the safety factor, but he went out and did it, and then he didn't get any support when he went to the judiciary, and he got a hefty suspension. But as Mark said, he said no one in the New South Wales team wanted to know me. I did what they wanted, and I can remember ringing Mark and saying, mate, I'd like to catch up with you if that's okay. That's the difference between Queensland and New South Wales. We remain friends for life, and we trust our mates, and I got the opportunity to catch up with him, and I've done now. I do quite regular radio interviews with him. He's working on Triple M in Sydney, and going really well for himself. And he sort of recognises that as, while he knew that he had a job to do for New South Wales, he didn't appreciate the lack of support that he got. But he went on to be one of the toughest players to take part in the NRL and the Origin series, and he was a player that you like to avoid at every opportunity because, boy, he had some aggression about him, and he was a wonderful player.
Two quick questions, we'll let you go. I just want to know what your thoughts are on the Warriors. Obviously, it's probably mission impossible. Well, it is mission impossible to make the finals this year, but where do you think the Warriors are at under Andrew Webster?
Everyone I've spoken to about Andrew Webster, they swear about his ability. They talk about him being so wonderfully talented. I can't sort of talk about what sort of coach he is because I've never had the opportunity to play alongside him. But they've got some handy players on board. Roger is a wonderful player. Dallin Watinza-Lesniak. Probably the halves is the one area where they do have some good players, but they really haven't sort of gone ahead too well at the moment. And they've got a wonderful set of forwards. So what's the background of the failure? Why aren't they winning? Well, I think you've got to be fairly closely associated with the team to understand that. But they've got a lot of talent on board, and I think it's just a matter of time of making those guys understand each other. I'm sure they're the best of friends. But if there's one thing I'm glad that I'm not doing, every second week is making the travel that these guys come up with. I think they've got to just try and look after themselves a little bit better. Perhaps they'll prove everyone wrong this weekend. They're up against the Tigers, who are they're close to the bottom of the ladder. So I think they'll get the chance to do it. But I do expect the Warriors to go better. Hopefully they'll be able to sort things out in the off season because I know that for a long time most of the blokes in the National Rugby League competition used to fear every time they jumped on the plane to fly over to Auckland or the other fields that they played on and take them on Kiwi soil. It was something that they did not enjoy, and I still remember the time when they got to the final, and I honestly thought they were going to win that one under the direction of Stacey Jones, who was one of the classiest footballers I've ever seen in my lifetime.
Wonderful talking to you, my friend. Thank you so very much for giving us so much time.
My pleasure. Anytime, mate.
The Tight Five.
5 separate sporting topics, roughly a minute or so on each, people. When the bell goes ding like that, we move on to the next one. Canadian drone spy gets 8-month suspended sentence. Good God. I still love that. I just think this is the best comedy that has ever come out of any Olympic Games. Tonight, the football ferns face Canada. I mean, the drone story is going to be funnier than the fact that we're not going to score a goal, if you find that funny. Wally Lewis, tell us about Wally Lewis. What do you know about Wally Lewis, Lachlan, before we spoke to him? Men's sevens, 2 out of 2, damn good. Quarterfinal tomorrow. Are we going to win that gold? Moroccan football fans storming the field and stopping the game versus Argentina. Morocco are up 2-1. Argentina scored a goal, and get this, the 116th minute. Now, there's they aren't playing extra time. That's 16 minutes of injury time or overtime or whatever. Argentina scored. Eventually, after they cleared the crowd, after about half an hour, and VAR'd it, they disallowed the goal for offside. But what the hell is going on with security in Paris at the Olympic Games when fans can storm the field? This coming Saturday, Lachlan, is this the best Saturday so far in the NRL? I'm going to give you the fixtures for that. A Russian chief arrested for spying. We got a fair bit to talk about, but kick it off with the Canadian drone thing. Assistant coach has been sent home. The Canadian coach, Bev Priestman, has opted to ban herself from tonight's game against the Football Ferns as a punishment. And the actual guy who put the drone up in the air gets an 8-month suspended sentence. Look, I can understand because, obviously they've got to make a big song and dance about this because they have to, but there is a really humorous aspect to this, and there is not a single person in this country, unless, of course, you are a family member who has, one of the Football Ferns belongs to you, and I understand that you look at this a little differently. The rest of us, look and I would say with a little more reality, but mock, because this is a really average side that never perform on the international stage. And if they get even 2 goals out of the 3 games, it'll be an absolute miracle. Should we be laughing at this story, Lachlan? I don't know how else to deal with it. I can't take it that seriously. What the hell were you doing, Canada? The only question I've seen anyone pose about this, apart from Andrew Pragnell, the CEO of New Zealand Football, who's over there and he's taking it extremely seriously. Everyone else is going, why are you doing this? Well, yeah. Just Google the results from the last 5 years where we've won 5 games out of 55, mate.
Why are you so concerned about a team that you're ranked so much higher than and that you are so much better than? Why are you that worried about them that you think you need to go spy on them?
Plus, the other thing is that, oh, look, it's a drone. It's hardly invisible, is it? It makes a bloody noise, mate. And there's obviously somebody on the other end of it.
And it's quite a high-pitched whizzing sound, you know?
I mean, it doesn't take you much to look around and go, I wonder who's controlling that thing.
Well, we don't have a drone.
No. Who's that? I mean, good luck to the football fans, of course. I mean, you know, but... I
love the coach saying, you know, this is an awful thing that has gone on here. I'm going to dismiss myself from tonight's game just to show you how upset I am.
Seriously, how I'm taking this whole
who's
thing.
really that bothered by this? I tell you what, New Zealand football and the football fans are stoked that they're probably being talked about a little bit more outside of New Zealand than they were before this.
Good win for the Ollie Whites, though, overnight against Guinea. I don't know anything about Guinea. I don't know anything about their players. In actual fact, the truth is I don't know much about many of the players at the Olympics because they're all under 23 players with 3 oldies attached to all the teams. But what I do know is that this is a very significant result for our men's Olympic team because when Danny Hay was coaching back in Tokyo 3 years ago, we beat South Korea. I think we got a draw against Colombia in our last game and got through to the quarterfinals. That was the first time that the men's side had ever got to that stage. Now that we've beaten Guinea, we've got France and the United States next. A point from either of those 2 games is probably going to be enough, providing we don't get thrashed in the other game. And for this team to make it through to the quarterfinals again would be a hell of an achievement. So, congratulations. From what I've been told, from those who watched the game, I put a few phone calls around this morning because I didn't get up to watch it, that they dominated us, but we scored 2 goals, they scored 1, and that's what's most important.
Well, it's a good result against a team that I assume is half decent. Most of those African teams are actually quite good, and they tend to have a few that in the last sort of 5, 6, 7 years have made it in the bigger leagues. No, one of their captain, Naby Keita, played for Liverpool.
There you go.
He was a waste of space at Liverpool.
He was terrible. I loved him as a player.
Well, at the Bundesliga, he was at Leipzig. He was superb. Great player. Came to us. Actually had a great start to his time at Liverpool and then had a heart issue, collapsed on field. Never the same. But I would assume that they are a better footballing nation than us. Yeah. So it's a very good result.
I love this text that's just come in. This is 505 on the text. Very amusing. If the White Ferns, it's actually the football Ferns. If the football Ferns score a goal against Canada, I hope the girls do a drone celebration. That would be cool, wouldn't it?
Yeah, that would be good.
That would be good.
If they win, though.
No, just score it. Just score it. Look, if they score
because if you score a goal, do that celebration, but they beat you 6-1.
Great, it's a win. If we score a goal in an international competition, how many did we get at the Women's World Cup?
1.
Yeah. Okay, so if we score a goal...
but it was a goal that got us a win.
It was. It was a great goal, as a matter of fact. Is this Saturday the best so far in the NRL, Lachlan? 5 p.m, Broncos Dogs.
Oh, no.
Massive match. 7:30, North Queensland Sharks. Massive match. 9:35, Roosters Manly. Massive match. How good is that?
Best Saturday in a while.
There goes Saturday. So get off your gaming console. Tell her that you're otherwise engaged.
Who's her?
Well, if there was a her. And just lock it. Okay?
Well,
you need a box, you need pizzas, and you need the remote. What else are you going to do on Saturday?
Well, I've got
plans.
No, I've got a pub crawl.
There we go. You're one of those guys. Lachlan's one of those guys when it comes to girls. He goes, I don't like sport. Because, every guy that says that's his lying face right there. He's saying that because he's trying to make a move on you. Oh, I'm not like those guys. I don't like rugby. No, I'm not a rugby hitter.
Betting? Oh, no, that's
I don't know the gambling. Yeah.
It's not very smart use of your money, is it?
I might just pick up my guitar and strum a couple. Just stop it, mate. We all know what you're up to, mate. But is that a brilliant Saturday?
It's a brilliant Saturday.
That is a brilliant Saturday. Yeah. God, I love sport. That is so good. Greg Martin joins us every single Thursday on the show. Triple M breakfast host out of Brisbane, former Wallaby fullback. When I say it's a man's show, it's a male skewed show. That's their audience. So they talk about stuff, they do stuff, they get away with stuff. They would have you cancelled here in New Zealand. but most of it's just really funny. And his audience loves it, and his audience is in the millions. And look, and if you're sensitive at all, please, skip through this next bit. But Greg was on the show. He knew that we were talking to Wally Lewis, and they came up with a way to give away the last Origin tickets to the decider last week, and it involved Wally. Don't be sensitive about this, because if you are the wrong audience for his program, and probably, to be fair, this podcast. Marto, we had Wally Lewis on to start the program, mate. Just what an amazing bloke. What a brilliant player he was.
Mate, he changed the game of rugby league. He came from rugby. Did you know no one threw a spiral pass in rugby league until Wally Lewis came across from rugby? After he left school, he made the Australian schoolboys rugby team, and he didn't make the number one team. I don't know if you'd spoke to him about this, but he didn't make the team because he was behind Michael O'Connor was in that team, Michael Hawker, the three Ella brothers, and Wally was in the reserves. He went,
wow,
I'm not good enough for this, but they really like me in rugby league. So when he came back to Australia, they didn't lose a game on a 2-month tour of England, etc. He went to rugby league and he started throwing these 25, 30-metre spiral passes, and rugby league had never seen it before. It was quite incredible. So he changed the game of league, and then, of course, he's a Queensland legend, mate.
Do you have much to do with them on the radio? Do you get them on very often?
Yeah, whenever we can, mate. Personally, I really like the King. I've known him forever. He's been part of our life, and to know him and be a Queenslander is quite a privilege. But last week, all right, so we had the last tickets in town. Our radio station, the Blokes radio station here in Brisbane, Triple M, had the last tickets. I said, how are we going to give them away? Our studio's only, 200 metres up from Suncorp Stadium, up past the Caxton Hotel. So we said, righto, let's get people to come in, and if they're that keen, they've got to keep their finger from 6 a.m, and we were offering inducements to take your finger off, and we were going to keep your finger on Wally's willy. So you were supposed to hold on to what? All right, so...
See, this wouldn't be allowed in New Zealand. This is brilliant. This wouldn't be allowed here, mate.
No, it wasn't allowed. They said no.
Oh, no.
Round Wally's statue is too busy. But you can use one of the other statues. So we looked, there's a Darren Lockyer one, there's an Allan Langer one, there's a Mal Meninga one. And we went, oh, perfect. Finger Meninga was the name of the concept. And we got away with it. And a lady and her son got to go to Origin that night because they kept their finger on Meninga.
Hang on a second. And what, people don't complain about this, that you don't get cancelled because of this?
No, not yet. We haven't become New Zealand yet. Another couple of years, we probably will.
God, I love Queensland. I tell you what, I might move there, mate. I mean, I just love the humour of it. It's just people, and if you don't like it, just look away and go somewhere else and bitch about something else.
Oh, exactly. Oh, I should have been I'd be cancelled immediately. I'd come over to New Zealand. I don't care.
Your Broncos... God, don't tell me you're going to make the finals, mate. I mean, because I look at your draw, what's left. You could win 5 out of these 6 games.
But the Broncos this year could also lose 5 out of those 6 games. We don't leave Queensland again. We've got to go to play the Cowboys up at Townsville, which is bloody far enough away. But other than that, we're at home and we've got a full team. Spoke to Billy Walters this morning. They've got everyone's rearing to go. And now they've got Reynolds. You don't need 2 arms to play rugby league, I saw last weekend with Reynolds. So he's running around. He waddles. He's a one-armed waddler, and that's enough to win a game of rugby league from halfback with Adam Reynolds. So, mate, we're looking... Well, no, I don't want to be overconfident, but the Broncos could make it, yeah.
Isn't that the difference, between the two codes? That one guy in that position can make such a difference. Like if you brought in the best halfback, if you brought in DuPont into any rugby team, I'm not sure he'd make the difference that a fully fit Adam Reynolds or a Nathan Cleary makes.
You spot on the money. It's so true. A playmaker in rugby league makes so much difference, whereas rugby union is more of a team game. There's a lot more random things that can happen in a game of rugby union. That's one of the beauties, because the game is a contest at every stage, whereas rugby league has so much certainty. So if you do put the ball deep into a corner and they can't play out of that, you're controlling the game, you control the momentum, whereas rugby, everything can change so quickly. So it's up to every player. That's a very good call from you.
To hear the full interview, download the platform at the App Store. Via Platform Plus, you can go back and listen to the whole show and all of the interviews in full. Your favourite game,
We need to talk.
which is what, Lachlan?
We need to talk.
What has more chance of happening?
Say it with vim and vigour.
What has more chance of happening?
Well, come on, doubters. What is more chance of happening?
Yes.
Where I present two different scenarios, and you're going to tell me out of the two what is more chance of happening. I'm going to let you do it again. What is more chance of happening? The football ferns make it out of the group stage at the Olympic Games into the quarterfinals, or the Warriors make the 8. Both are the impossible ask. The football ferns are going to have to win games, not draw, going to have to win games. The Warriors are going to have to win all of their games. Both highly unlikely. In fact, neither is going to happen. But out of the two, what is more chance of happening?
My initial thought is to say the Warriors making the top 8 has much more chance of happening. But that involves the Warriors winning 6 games, 4 of which are against teams that are higher than them on the table and in better form. For the football ferns, they just need to probably get 4 points, a win, a draw, and that might well be enough. I'm
Yeah,
going
it
to say
should be enough. And not only that, if Andrew Pragnell is successful with his urgent action, urging FIFA
urgently
to confiscate whatever points that Canada get against us overnight.
I actually think
Here we go.
there is more chance that the football ferns make it out of their group.
What a sort of a thing to say, mate. There's more chance that the Warriors are making
Is
the 8.
there? They need to win 6 games.
What is more chance of happening? Now, after listening to Ian Thompson, I've kind of tempered my view on this a little bit. I thought that the dream team was just going to go kick everyone's butt, claim the gold. Okay. What is more chance happening? The United
Just quickly, different rules as well. It's international basketball, different rules.
Okay.
It's harder. You can't draw
It's more
fouls.
shoot, isn't it?
No. You know how Joel Embiid does the James Harden where he just lifts his arms, tries to draw contact and get free throws? No. You can't do that in international
Yeah,
basketball.
but you can triple step, Euro step, can't you? You can walk the ball to the basket.
I don't know.
It's embarrassing, mate.
My
watching
point
that.
is that it's harder to draw fouls, which is good for basketball.
What is more chance of happening? The dream team wins gold. Or the Ollie Whites make it out of their group.
I'm going to say the Ollie Whites make it out of their group.
Well, they are going to make it out of their
They
group.
won their first game.
Yes, they did.
And that could be enough.
Well, the next games are against United States and France. So Ollie Whites beat Guinea 2-1. France beat the United States 3-0. Just do the maths. Normally, 4 points. Only the top 2 teams get through. But normally 4 points should get you through. Now, out of these 2 next games, draw 1 and just not... Like, if we draw with the USA, which is entirely possible, because remember, these are under 23 sides with a couple of 3 older players, and then it's just not losing to France by more than 3 goals. Because the United States have done us a massive favour here, shipping 3 goals against France. I don't know how good the United States... I don't know how good any of these teams are because I don't know the players.
I would base it on how good are their senior teams, because that's probably...
Well, the United States men's
indication.
team is so much better than us.
it's probably an indication of what the junior team is going to be like. And also, I hate using this word, but what are the structures, the academies? What is the system like for junior
Well, it's
players?
America, so it's going to be a lot bigger and better than it is here.
exactly.
They've got the college system for a
So
start.
I would just guess that they are probably a better team than us.
Okay, well, what is more chance of happening?
It was...
Dream team wins gold,
No,
or...
Ollie White's making it
Ollie
out of their
White's...
group.
Ollie White's... Well, I think that's going to happen.
Yes!
What is more chance of happening? The dream team wins gold.
You keep calling them the dream team.
Well, what are they?
Well, the dream team was the 1992
Yeah, well, can't they be the dream team too? Can't 2 teams be the dream
But
team?
this team's not as dreamy as the 2012 team.
I'm calling them the dream team. This year's version of the dream team wins
Just
gold.
say the USA men's basketball team.
Doesn't sound as sexy. This year's version of the dream team wins gold, or the football ferns score more than 2 goals across their 3 games. Because that was why Canada put the drone up, because they're just absolutely fearful of our attacking prowess.
They are quaking in their boots.
I hope that they play Millie Clegg and give her 3 games. She's the only person that's going to be capable of actually doing anything up front for us. Give it, just put the girl in.
We've got a very good young winger who India Paige Riley.
Oh, yeah.
She's a very good
point.
young player.
Okay, well, just play the youngies.
Yeah.
I mean, Ali Riley,
would.
may you be squatting on a place in the team for the last 100 games you've played. Let's be honest. How long have you had that excruciating injury that we've been talking
that nerve injury.
A nerve injury. That means it's been plaguing you for a long time. What are you even doing in France?
Yeah, you thought you'd be fine for the Olympics?
What are you doing in France? There are so many of the football ferns, like the white ferns, who are women who've just decided that I've played for 10 years and I've practiced hard, I deserve the money, and they're just hanging in there. And no one's actually prepared to say, well, that's fine, and you are, and you did, but You're no longer the player you were. What's got more chance of happening? The dream team wins gold, or the football ferns score more than 2 goals? More than 2 goals.
Oh, I'm going to say that the dream team wins gold.
Yeah.
that is more chance.
Okay. Because what happened at the Women's World Cup? We scored a goal against Norway. How many else did we get against the Philippines and Switzerland?
0.
We didn't score again. And that's been the problem. If it's not one of the Pacific Island teams, then this team really struggles to actually create chances or score goals. It's like the men's team, really. And we play, after Canada, Colombia and France. Two countries that you think are probably traditionally pretty good at football. What is more chance of happening? The dream team wins gold, or Lewis Clareburt and or Erica Fairweather medal in the pool. So we're going to get a swimming medal in the pool. What is more chance of happening? The dream team wins gold, or we get a swimming medal? No, I'm not. It doesn't have to be gold. Very rare for New Zealand to get a medal in the pool. I think we've only ever had 4. And I don't think
3 of them
were Daniel Loader.
Yeah.
I don't think a woman has ever medalled in the pool from New Zealand. In fact, I'm pretty sure not. Not at the Olympics.
Now, both have been on this upward trajectory for a number of years. Both, I think, were at the last Olympics.
Both winning world championship medals.
Yep.
Even though there were players who weren't playing.
If you pardon the pun, a watered down field. Oh, that was good. That was good. Very good.
Not bad. I'll take that.
Now, well, look, I saw an article in the Herald that suggested that we've got a great chance at meddling.
I hope so.
Via Clareburt.
That would be thrilling. I would love to watch another medal being won in the pool. I hope so. I really hope so.
But I don't know.
They're up against a lot of drug cheats. That's what I fear the most. I don't fear their ability. I don't fear the fact that who didn't go to those tournaments or whatever, or those swim meets. I don't fear all of that. I just fear the drug cheats. That's what I fear. That we're not playing on a level playing field.
Clareburt was, I think it was the 400-metre individual medley. He was running 3rd or 4th for most of it in Tokyo, but then fell away in the last leg.
What is more
I'm going to
chance?
say there's more chance that we get a medal.
I
in
hope
the
so.
pool.
I hope so.
Now, it sounds like I'm saying that the USA men's basketball team isn't going to perform well. They will. They'll probably get to the final.
But you'd think.
But everyone else is actually really good. And this team is filled with a lot of older players.
Yeah,
and
but
a lot of these
they should still beat most countries in the world.
They should,
handsome, shouldn't they?
Slovenia, Serbia, Spain have always been strong. France have always been strong.
I know,
Germany
but
have always
this is
been
the
strong.
United States,
Argentina
mate. This
have
is
always been
LeBron
very
and
strong.
KD and Steph Curry, mate.
I know, but I'm just saying that...
Who are their defenders? Who's actually winning the ball for those guys?
Oh, the USA?
Yeah. It's not Joel Embiid. He won't last the tournament. Who's actually going to win the ball and give it to those guys?
I think there's this conception that Anthony Edwards is a great two-way player. I don't think he's at that level defensively yet. Jason Tatum's a good two-way player. Bam Adebayo is a
You're
very
not
good
talking
two-way
defenders
player.
to me. You're talking guys that are
Bam Adebayo is a good two-way player.
Okay, well, I want solid
Drew
defenders.
Holiday?
I want solid...
Drew Holiday,
I
mate.
want guys who are defenders,
No,
mate.
this is the problem. I just listed you 4 pretty good,
Pretty
3
good
very
defenders,
good
mate.
defensive
They
players.
all want
You
to
don't
score. They
know-
all want to
oh
get
my
the ball.
gosh, you don't know.
I know
you
my...
don't know
I do know.
NBA
You go,
basketball.
you
don't
got
know
no
basketball.
idea what
If
you're
you're
talking
going to sit
about.
there and say Drew Holiday only wants to score,
He only wants to score,
you
mate.
don't know basketball. Sorry, move on.
That's our podcast for today. Thank you so much for listening. If you want to listen to the entire show, 1 till 4, Monday to Friday, download the Platform app, and via Platform Plus, you can go back and listen to whatever shows over however many weeks at your leisure, at your listening pleasure. Platform Plus. First thing to do, though, is download the Platform app.
Devlin,
Unbelievable. Incredible.
the Platform.